Hello. Welcome back to BooksBootsBooze. I am Dylan Thomas Good, and yes, I have my booze. It's a delicious bourbon with black cherry notes. Don't you wish you had some right now? I also have my boots, as you can see, and these boots have a story behind them. They were actually used in the film The Three Musketeers. That was when it was filming in Germany. And another bit of information, I got married in them. True story. So, got my booze, got my boots, but I don't have any books, and that's what this episode's about. It's about writer's block and all those horrible things that come along with that. There's a lot of different things that we're going to be talking about as far as what are the causes of writer's block, how to deal with it, finding out what motivates you, and then using all that information to sort of push ahead. So we're going to go ahead and start right now. Probably the simplest way to start to assess yourself when it comes to writer's block and why it's happening is take stock in what has changed in your life recently. Is there a divorce, a family death, a new job, something that's been very, very jarring that's prohibiting you from going down your creative lane? And if that doesn't come up with anything, you can always flip it. And you can find out whether or not you have any ruts in your life. If you're stuck in a job you hate, if you're stuck in a loveless marriage, if you're stuck in some disfavorable situation that is now getting worse for you and is obviously making a bigger impact not only on your real life but on your creative life as well. So that's a real easy first step to do. Now, a lot of you may actually get some insight from that little chaos rut coin flip self-assessment that I just recommended. If you do, that's great. If not, don't worry. There are a lot of other ways that you can be proactive about the whole thing when it comes to writer's block. I was recently at a writer's convention, and I was astounded by how many people on panels talked about getting therapy. And I think it's important to look at therapy as not this form of weakness and this flaw on your personality or your mental ability to cope with life. I think you should probably best look at it as something like preventative maintenance for your soul, if you want to get really, really intensive. And let's face it, you and your creativity are at least as important as your car, so hey, So therapy is definitely a way to make everything a little bit more aligned. A lot of people, especially folks in the medical community, would probably want to turn you on to some kind of medication, whether it's drugs or illegal drugs or, some mind-altering substance that is going to change your perception of reality. And I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of people who are really good on drugs, okay? You look back over the years, everybody from Aerosmith to Stephen King to Edgar Allan Poe did some really, really great things on drugs. But the problem is this isn't a cure-all for everybody. And you could end up contributing to your problems by doing this. And there are some of you out there who are going to try it anyway. And, if you don't end up with a crippling, expensive addiction, and it works for you, great. But if you do it, prepare to be shortchanged. A lot of people don't have really good faculties with dealing with creativity whilst on drugs. It's not the ends to the means that a lot of people make it out to be. Because let's face it, a lot of the press go on and on about how much people imbibe in order to create albums, books, films, paintings, sculptures, whatever. But there are also the other 95% who aren't able to really do that sort of artistic home run under under the influence. But if you're dead set on doing some kind of drug experiment, we'll just say that. We'll just keep that there. Go by the words of a very creative woman by the name of Grace Jones, who once said, "Use, don't abuse." And that goes for a lot more in life than just creativity and drugs and things like that. So, I think it's a good idea to know your limits. And it's not just when it comes to your creative space or your drug space or your alcohol space or anything like that. I think it's a good thing in life to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, and where your boundaries actually lie, so you can stay behind certain lines that you know you don't respect and you're not comfortable going over, so that way you can do your best work. A lot of people out there are surely saying, well, Mr. Good, what about pushing boundaries? That's how you grow and that's how you learn. And yeah, that's great. But once you recognize your shortcomings or your strengths or your comfortable areas where you can really be productive, then that's your sweet spot. And that's a good place to remain, as long as it's comfortable. If it's not, wander out into the world, get a little bit more experience, try other things, try different formats. If you're a sculptor, go with painting. If you're a painter, go with writing. If you're a writer, go with making films. Whatever it is, whatever jumpstarts that little spark that makes you do what you do best, that's what you should go with. But try not to kill yourself doing it. Try to figure out how much of this is an innate drive within you. I mean, a lot of people are writers because they have some kind of injustice that they want to uncover, or they want to highlight and applaud some kind of unsung hero. And then there are a lot of us that write just because we fucking want to. We have this need to. We have to do it, and if we don't, we'll hemorrhage and fall down. But it's really important to know what it is that gives you your palette, so to speak. Why do you have all these colors that you do in life, and what makes you want to use them and share them with other people? It's very, very important to recognize what makes you happy and what motivates you. And another thing probably that we should touch on is how much of your writing is influenced by your own surroundings. I mean, let's face it, if you're a fantasy writer, you're not going to have as much inspiration from your own life as a lot of other people who are doing romantic comedies or family dramas or something to that effect. But no matter what it is, use this for leverage. If you write about your surroundings, maybe you're blocked because things are fucked up at the moment and there's some kind of imbalance. On the other side of the coin also, maybe your latest project could benefit from using some of your life experience, even if it's really, really out there. Like I said, I mentioned the fantasy things or sci-fi people, but there's always a human element in everything. There's a common touch in every piece of art. And that's why people have emotional responses to it. I mean, you can go to the Museum of Modern Art, or you can go to the cinema, or you can go to anywhere that there is some kind of art on display, and you'll have eventually, if you cut through so much, I mean, there's a lot of shit out there. I'm not going to, kid you, but I think if you go to any place out there that is exhibiting art, as a museum, cinema, live theater, music, anything, and eventually you're going to hit something that, bam, does have that common touch and that you absolutely identify with. I mean, that's what the great thing is about writing, is going out there and saying, this happened to me, or these are things that I value and I want to share them with you, and then having someone go, yeah, man, that's deep. And having that kind of exchange with people on a really, really deep level. And that's important for everyone, you know, and it's especially important for people who are in the artistic endeavors, because we live and die by our emotions. So congratulations. You've figured out what it is that's holding you back. Now, how the hell do you change it? Lots of ideas for change. Don't worry about it. First thing you should do is, if your usual inspiration isn't working for you anymore, immerse yourself in something totally different. Like I mentioned about how sculptors should go to painting and painters should become writers and things of that sort. Don't read books if you're a writer. Don't listen to the radio if you're a musician. Go out and find something totally different than your usual surroundings. For instance, I once read an article by a singer-songwriter and overall fun piano gal by the name of Tori Amos. And she said something to the effect of going to a racetrack to hear the rev of the engines in order to get new beats and compositions and things like that. I think that's a wonderful idea. I think it's a great example. Go with something totally different, you know, that doesn't have anything to do with the industry in which you are or what you want to be in. Probably another thing is, if you go out and you try something different like that, not only may it give you some inspiration, but it may distract you from your slump. You know, this may not be a right off the bat kind of thing. These kind of inspirations tend to morph and grow like moss, and it takes a little while for things to go boing, you know, and I've had that numerous times where you work on something for, say, 8 months, you know, you're writing a book or a screenplay or something like that, and you work on something for 8 months, and you still don't have a title for it. You know, and you have all these ideas, and you have the ending, and, you know, all the characters, and, you know, the plot arcs, and, you know, things thought up for the promotion and all these things. I wrote a book called Woof about 5 years ago, and it took me until about 2/3 the way through the book before I came up with the title. And that was very, very unusual for me. I usually have the title right off the bat, but in this case I didn't, but it turned out just fine, you know. And so don't get real uptight about having time limits on things. Let it flow, you know. I know, and this is tough for me to say because I'm the most impatient motherfucker on the face of the earth, man. I want everything and I want it now, and that's not usually the best outcome, though. You know, let it happen a little bit more organically, and things will end up turning out and shaking down just the way that they're supposed to. Another thing you want to do is change your environment. Wherever you're writing, you know, if you write in the same room, at the same desk, at the same time, every fucking day, don't do that anymore. Shake it up. Do something totally different. Go to a different place. Listen to, you know, nature sounds. Go out in the middle of the woods. You know, go to the racetrack like Tori says. Whatever, you know, do something that's totally different, because obviously whatever it is not working for you. The synapses aren't firing anymore creatively. And you need a little change of scenery. I know probably one of the best things that I can do to sort of push out all the distractions that I end up having is listening to either movie soundtracks or nature sounds, both of which have no lyrics. And I finally figured out why I'm better with soundtracks and nature sounds than listening to songs per se, is because I don't have any words and lyrics to deal with emotionally. Because let's face it, when you listen to a song, it doesn't matter whether it's a sad song or a song that was out when you were a kid or a song that was out when you were dating that woman back in 1989 or whatever, you know, you're going to have some kind of emotional reaction to it. And that's not what you're going for. You don't want to do that because it's just a distraction from the story you're trying to tell. You're listening to somebody else's story. Listen to your story. And in order to do that, you can't really be emotionally vested in something else. So there are some things out on the market right now that I find interesting, and I do encourage you to go out and take this idea and run with it and go and look for other things. For instance, right now there's a thing called Omm Writer, OMM Writer, and it's this little software tool online, and it promotes writer focus via blacking out the background and listening to nature sounds and ambient music and all these little funky things that you can control and pick and choose from. So it's actually pretty neat. So I'll put the URL right down here on the screen so you can see it, and go and check it out. And like I said, go and explore those avenues, explore things to sort of block out distractions. Use earplugs. I mean, get some 33 ratings and go for it. You know, turn the phone off. Turn the telly off, you know, do all those things that are going to promote peace. Because if you can have the peace, your mind's going to be able to expand and fill that empty space. And that's what you want, you know. You want a big head. Everybody wants a big head. Another routine that you can get in that works very, very well is meditation. And I know a lot of people are out there going, oh, he's going to get all metaphysical on our asses here. But this can be anything from as complex as a religious experience, if you want to say that, to something as simple as a breathing exercise. For instance, you could do it right before bed, you know, because let's face it, we all need to get some sleep. And I've actually incorporated a very, very simplistic version of it before I go to bed. You want to know mine? Okay. First thing I do is go back over the day and think of 3 things that I'm thankful for that happened that day. It could be as easy as, oh, I'm so glad I ate that burger and I didn't get sick, to I'm really, really glad my mother's being taken care of in this hospice. You know, I mean, it can be very, very basic, or it can be very, very complex and really driven by your own emotions. Doesn't matter. Just find 3 things for which you're thankful for. And then, right after that, I listen for just a minute. That's all you need, just 1 minute, is just listen to your own breathing. Just, yeah, just listen to your breathing. Don't let anything else distract you. Not the radio, not your sweetie snoring, not reruns of Seinfeld, not the rainstorm outside, nothing. Your own breathing. That's it. Concentrate on yourself. Your breathing and anything that you can find inside there to calm you down, to get the sleep that you need. You can also do this during the day. You know, if you find that you have a really stressful job, works great. You know, you can do the same thing. Take literally 1 minute out of the workday. Do this. Think of things that you're thankful for. Think of things that motivate you. Think of things that are going to calm your inner self. And this is all about recharging your batteries, folks. It's as simple as that. Without a charge, you can't run. And be honest with yourself when it comes to your needs, and remember that nothing to do with weakness or having any types of shame in your game, you know, just go with what makes you a better person, because if you go with something that makes you a better person, it's going to make you a better creative entity as well. And that's what we're aiming for. And once you can get that sense of peace, then you can work past any of the obstacles that you're going to encounter. And as Margaret Atwood once said, if I waited for perfection, I would never write a word. So thank you all very much, folks, for watching this episode. It's so awesome to have you guys here. And I really appreciate you stopping by. We're going to be doing another one here in just a few weeks. And as always, if you have comments or recommendations for future shows, get them down there in the comments. Make it happen. I'll see you folks again soon. Cut. That wasn't sexy at all.